I think that's wonderful. It's nice to know that, like, you can get stuff wrong. Like, this isn't, no one's out the box perfect, for sure. This stuff is not easy. I sort of wanted to move the conversation slightly forward to the idea of mentorship, and this seems to be so important to so many women in their careers in science, and certainly from my perspective, I find it really important to be mentoring in my field in science communication, to be mentoring and helping people come along. But you know, what does make a good mentor? Do you have to have a mentor who is like you? This is that sort of idea of, like, you know, if you're a black woman, do you have to have a black woman as a mentor? If you're a white woman, do you have to have a white woman as a mentor? Lakeisha, I know you do a lot of, like, trying to get girls and to see what the future can be like for them. What's your thought on this?
Yeah, I remember speaking to you about this because the first mentor that I met, and probably the most significant one, was a white 60-year-old male. And I met him during secondary school. He opened so many doors for me, gave me so many incredible opportunities. And it's something I like to call personality alignment. So I think sort of like further on, I do have more female role models. Not a lot of them are ethnic minorities. It's quite a good mix. But it really is about someone taking the time to see the personality of someone, gauge if they're keen or they're interested, and just form a really organic relationship. And I don't think it has to be too structured. Sometimes I get a bit of anxiety when it's like every 6 weeks we must meet at 5 p.m, you know. But whether it's just like tagging people into like articles on LinkedIn or just retweeting things. I remember you saying, Kat, that you say that, you know, if anyone wants to ask about science communications, you can just DM me. I think that's just such a huge avenue, because that's where everyone is. We're on social media, and because of that, people are a lot more accessible than perhaps they would have been a couple of years ago. So I think it's important to have a good mix. I feel like I'm not necessarily mentoring anyone in their career. I feel like I've just started, but I feel like from the opposite spectrum, look out for people that you like aspects of their career, you like aspects of their personality. You're not designated to become their clone, but if you like things in someone and you get a good combination of people, you can almost like create the person that you want to be through the variety of people that you interact with. So I think variety is just so important.
Jenny, what's your sort of views on this? Because as someone who's a practicing scientist, you're bringing people through your lab, you're interacting with a lot of people in the community.
I totally agree with Lakeisha that you don't have to be mentored by someone who looks like you. And I too have had very good male mentors, and I mentor men. And I think she's hit the nail on the head. It's all about the personality. You have to have an empathy. You have to meet somebody that you admire, if you're looking upwards, or accept the admiration of someone who's just starting out in their career. There'll be something that clicks there, whether it's the personality or you're doing things a certain way. And I think, I don't have much to add. It was such a beautiful answer, but I think people do get head up like, oh gosh, well, we've got to have BME, AME mentors. You know, we've got to find a bunch of ethnic minorities to mentor the ethnic minorities. And I think that is kind of missing the point.
I think it's incredibly valid. We have a few minutes left for Q&A. So if you do have any questions, please pop them in the Q&A box. We can't see the chat. We only see questions coming through in the Q&A. So please do pop them in there as well. And just as we're sort of starting to get towards the Q&A and wrapping up, I would like, I think, each of the panelists, if there's an event or an interaction in your life that really helped you feel like you belong in science. I think we'll start with Anne-Marie. Can you sort of do you have a memory encapsulated that helped you feel like you really belonged?
No.
It's fine if you don't. It's fine. It's a random question.
Do I? Well, I think. Do you know? It's funny because I can't pick one moment. I think it's the opposite for me. Is I can't pick a moment in my academic career that I've been made to feel like other in quite a profound way. So I think mine is the opposite, where my entire time, and it's only now looking back and talking to other people and hearing about the awful things that happened to them, that I'm like, wow, yeah, like no one ever created a fake dating profile for me and used it to bully me on my course. Like there's all these things that people tell me and I'm like, oh my goodness. So I think for me, I'm throughout my whole career, I was never made to feel like other, and I know I'm really fortunate for having that. So either fortunate or not very perceptive, because they probably were looking at me, I just didn't realise. So I think for me, you know, I've always had that sense of belonging, and if I'm being completely honest, I think it's the maths and the computer science and the logic and the trustworthiness of them meant that they're my friends. And every day I wake up and I'm like, you know, life is so much more complicated.
The numbers, the numbers are your friend. So, Lakeisha, can you think of one particular?
No,
briefly.
Yeah, I had to just agree with Anne-Marie. It's this kind of thing when you hear people talking about especially racial experiences, and I'm like, did I just live in a bag my whole life? Like, I just feel like she said, I just feel like I had rose tinted spectacles on, like I just didn't see it. I don't know. I think it kind of relates to what I was saying before about like getting invitations to various places. And I remember when I first started networking, I could literally I'd stand outside the doors, like try and be like, okay, should I go in? Is it okay? But having someone there that you know and having that person to kind of like lead you and introduce you to people, that always is a really, really big thing for me, and makes you more comfortable in the situation. But I can't think of anything specifically.
Jenny, have you got this? This is turning out to be a bad question. Jenny, have you got anything?
Well, yeah, I mean, I encountered a lot of sexism when I was first starting out in research. I was very young and very unconfident, and it was really distressing to me because I really wanted to be a scientist, but it all got magically better when I started my PhD with a really super strong female supervisor, Julie Overbaugh, who is basically one of those wonderful scientists I've ever met. She was tough but fair, and just showed me what was possible. And I did suddenly, when I joined her lab, I felt like I was joining a family. And yeah, that really saved me, because I think if I hadn't had that experience, I would have just written the whole thing off.
Yeah, I'd like to wave my little flag for Mandy Fisher, who I worked in her lab. I did my last postdoc there, and she's, you know, saved me in so many ways. I did ultimately leave science, but her mentorship was incredible. We've got a couple of questions. I think this is one for Jenny as a researcher. Do you think the current reward system is affecting the